I grew up kind of a weird kid. I was sort of obsessed with monsters as a child. And I collected monster toys. And I collected Famous Monsters of Filmland. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I collected the magazine. Famous Monsters of Filmland was a magazine that kids like me grew up reading. It started publishing in 1958. I have every single issue. This is issue number 1.
Every issue?
Every issue, yeah.
Wow.
This is number 1, and it's signed by Forrest J. Ackerman, who was the editor of Famous Monsters. He coined the term sci-fi.
Yeah.
And he was a literary agent. He was Ray Bradbury's agent and a lot of famous science fiction writers' agents back in the 1940s and 50s. And in 1958, he started Famous Monsters of Filmland. And I grew up just obsessed with this magazine. And this was back in the days when, there was no VHS tapes. You had to get up in the middle of the night and watch a horror movie or circle movies in the TV guide. You could only watch monster movies when they were on. But I was obsessed with them, so I've managed to get a complete collection of Famous Monsters.
It's like the Holy Monster Bible or something.
It is. It's amazing. But my favorite monster to collect toys on is the Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I'll get this whole cabinet full of Creature from the Black Lagoon toys. This board game right here is particularly rare. I'd say that's the most valuable of my creature toys. But a lot of these are pretty valuable. This wallet is really hard to find. They made these vinyl wallets. And they made 4 different ones. This one's got Creature on one side and the Wolfman on the other. But I've got all 4 of them. I'm proud to say.
What's this Creature from the Black Lagoon wearing a backwards hat? What's that cup up there? What is that from? Is it the creature?
Oh, that?
Yeah.
That's from 7-Eleven, I think. Yeah, it's just a super big gulp. I don't know why they put a goofy cap on them. Who knows? That's not very valuable. But this is an original Aurora Creature from the Black Lagoon model kit, still unassembled in its box. The thing about the Aurora kits, a lot of the times, an empty box is worth more than the kit, because people would build the kits and throw the boxes away. So you find the built-up kits all the time, but it's hard to find the boxes unless you find a box with a unbuilt kit in it. Then it's really valuable. But they've reissued a lot of this stuff. There's a company called Polar Lights, which has reissued all the Aurora monster kits. But to me, it's not quite the same. All right, more monsters. I got the Mummy shelf, and here's another one of these wallets I was talking about. These were made in 1963. This one's got the Mummy on one side and Dracula on the other. These were pretty cool, though. They came with these little monster cards that went in here, but none of the ones I have still have the monster cards. Here's an old drinking glass from the mid-60s. Some of the stuff's newer, though, like this plaque is new. And here's the Dracula shelf. I got the Dracula mystery game made by Hasbro, which is from the same series as the Creature. So a lot of vintage Dracula stuff, a lot of vintage Wolfman. Gotta love the Wolfman. Frankenstein, of course. This is one of my favorites. This is the Marx battery-operated Frankenstein. Everybody loves this toy. There was an episode of The Munsters where Herman thought Lily was pregnant. And then Eddie had that toy. And he had it walking around at the end, and Herman thought it was his baby. So Herman picks it up and tries cuddling it, and its head pops off on a spring. And Herman's trying to put the head back on the baby. A few other things. Now this is kind of cool. This is something we were talking about Famous Monsters of Filmland, but Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine in 1964 sponsored a monster model building contest. Mm-hmm. And you would take a picture of your built-up painted monster model and you'd send it to Forrest Ackerman at Famous Monsters. And if you won, you would get this plaque. This is an actual this is the second place plaster cast Vacuform plaque, they call this material, which was popular in the 60s to make stuff out of. So this is the actual plaque. Let's see. Here's Big Frankie. This came out in 1966, I believe. Maybe 65. But when all the Monsters models were really popular and were selling really well, they came out with this jumbo giant Frankenstein kit. It didn't sell that well, and it's really, really rare. They just reissued it a couple of years ago, but this is an original. This is from 1964.